All right, everybody, welcome to the Frankly Fabulous Show. Saturday night, our live anti-times broadcast. Lunar New Year. We're going to do a Lunar New Year ritual, set the vibe straight. We got an Aquarius stellium. We're going to take advantage of it. With our good energy, we thought we'd commemorate the Lunar New Year. Maybe we'll play some songs. We're going to start off by reading from the new chat book, Mutual Fair. I do feel kind of like most comfortable, I say, with writing. After, God, I just feel like I'm being attacked every week. It's a new kind of attack artistically on one thing or another. I feel like writing is the one thing that I really took the time to learn how to do properly. Or at least, poetry stuff, I have kind of an angle on it, Other stuff, I'm not sure if I feel that way. I feel like I can control it and fully realize it with like an authority. I don't know. But anyway, we'll read the book. You be the judge. Mutual Fair. This is my November-December notebook. So it comes right after High on Life. So I was thinking about putting out a piece that was just the whole last year, because I do have everything, I've got the whole last 2 years, but I could easily put all my pandemic journals together. I've got my initial one, which was from March to the end of May. Then Beach Trees is like June and July, May, June, July. Then High on Life picks up at the end of July, goes August, September, October. And then Mutual Fair picks up November, December. And I've got notebooks, obviously, since then, and this as well. So I've got running, I've got my poetic newsprint, which is ongoing, and running. It's a running kind of comic strip of poetry. And then this is sort of a mega novel. I don't know. As I'm watching this stuff, I'm just realizing like I'm probably just going to have to take it all down because it's just too personal. Like if anybody I know discovered any one of these episodes, it could be damaging. That's not the intention, though. I like how this is in public and in private at the same time. Like, it doesn't feel like it's in public, but it still feels like a performance, still feels like. I mean, that was an interesting experience earlier today with the dude from Norway. I had this guy from Norway in the chat. And like I was listening to this thing earlier about Paul Stanley was talking about the first time he saw Van Halen. They went to this club because there were all these little clubs in a row that you do the circuit for what was called the Star Room or something. And he was talking about the first time they saw him, there was only a handful of people there. But they just knew because they were just rolling so hard, So it's like, I don't know. If only one person is watching and only one person wants to engage in the comments, it's like, why not take that seriously and make that be what the episode was about? So I sort of had a back and forth with the guy a little bit. He was asking me questions. I was asking him questions. But my weekend kind of got fucked up because my mom is going to be back tomorrow instead of Monday, which cuts all my shit short. So I don't know if I'm going to live stream tomorrow. But I just wanted to do. kind of a chill new moon, new lunar year ritual. So, mutual fair. I feel like that's maybe my best title yet. And this one's kind of interesting because it's taken from a notebook this size. The previous was taken from mostly from this notebook, although from some other ones. And the one, the High on Life pamphlet is like 40 pages or something. Like it's a book, really. This one is 28 pages. High on Life is 44 pages. This one is 28. So it only uses 7 pieces of A11 letter size paper. So I can print more. It's easier to staple. I can make more copies with. Maybe that's what I'll do tomorrow is make more. That'd be kind of an interesting episode to just kind of walk through the process of making a book. You know, I just type it up in Google Drive. I have to use 16-point font, and then my computer has a booklet option. So you're able to print, you know, and if it's divisible by 4, it's an even number of pages. You just staple along the spine, and you've got kind of zine instant books, you know, instant publishing. So these I can just pass out to people, you know, and they're serialized. It's I've been doing this for a couple years, since 2019 at least. And I don't know, they're all I think they are all good. They're kind of the true medium or form for me. But I don't make that many copies. Of the one that was 44 pages, I only made like 5 or 6 copies. This one I've really only made 1 true copy so far. So maybe I'll print more tonight. It's kind of loud, and I don't know. It's a painstaking process, folding all the pages, making sure you're getting them exactly creased right, and then stapling it can be a little tricky. I don't have a saddle stapler or whatever it is. I have to use, you know, like I said, my mom's got all these office supplies, so I use this thing, you know, collating. I have collating parties for myself. But this is one reason why I want to get back to New York, because I can make these and put them in bookstores, hand them out to people. Right now, I'm mailing this stuff to people. If somebody, I mean, the dude in Norway wanted one, but it'd be a little expensive to send it there. But if you're in the United States and you want one, I could mail it to you. Leave a comment with your address or send me your address somehow. And I've been mailing them out to friends. They've been kind of unenthusiastic about them, the fucking jerks. But I think they're cool. I really enjoy making them. And I think they're very artistic. If I may say so myself. They're a major addition to the canon. So anyway, mutual fair. November 12th, publicity stunt. I'm quoting my own language. The bridge of the road. My foot against the leaf says is. Stop makes so noise. Continue within. Summer school. Delusional instincts got me where I am today. Before the beginning. Right back where I started from. Right back where I started from. November 19th, how I spent my summer vacation. Shit. Have to come back and finish it later. Ah. November 15th, room service. I should have just not said anything. Silence dreaming, Lady Carousel's organ. Chilly flowers are blonde. It's sundown when I drink my fist of coffee. First thing popped into my head, first thing came out my mouth. We are all children of Louis Warsh. Lyric videos reading poetry into my galoshes. Permanently reducing magnets. Guns continue firing. Tanks clattering. Slow wave. We are all out of windows. November 18th, contemplative pause. Smell of cold woods in fall. It's a story, but it hurts. Naked among the trestles. Leaf storm. Sink to myself, acting, writing. Be where I am. Thinking ink. Route detour. Motorcycle entrance. St. John's Arena. French Field House. Is the Music Man selling a war? This looks like a lively individual. They're all in cars, driving down Neil Ave. A utopia of pussy and intellect. If life is simulation, thanks for the simulation. Perfect example. Somewhat effortless. I don't know what else to put. Daily walk. What's that smell? All this tech office space. Going in on deals. November 20th. Aleatory scorecard. Painting the feathers. We let them out early in the morning. Decommercializing vision. Collaborating with real life surfaces. A residential forest of isolation. It's the hour the headlights change. November 22nd. Still waters. I am stored in your mandalas. A voice full of essays. November 24th. My iPhone is a Tamagotchi where I feed and attend to the daily needs of a public character. This pet I call the self. November 25th. Terra Incognita. Couch Paeta. The king was dressed as a tree. Wet bluegrass, Ohio wind. All day I dream about sex. Sunday morning in America. Hillbilly songs play. I sit here pretending to be famous. It rained the day Chris Farley died. I found out from a gray announcement streaming on TRL. 48-hour film festival almost tapped for the workers in song. Hot Potato comes out. Speaking tires me, but I find it irresistible. I would consider Ronnie James Dio Blakean. I only care because it's the main subject of conversation in my family. Cold front presses in on train whistles. Planes, trains, and automobiles. Matt the poet, banned for life from Tinder. The gospel of poverty. Holding on for dear life. Xerox unfolding cart. Need to put an order in. Loved your incidental day music. Blessings. Where was I? Green Neptune throws down. As usual. As usual. You never get to see The movie character's shoes. November 26th, food puppet. I'm always taking a break. Our land, a gold land. Trees build themselves. That's incredible. Can a chair do that? Continue to grow into the ground as it goes on, getting bigger, widening its trunk, reaching farther and spiraling taller. I'm always taking a break. Home Alone. The stars in Virginia are fake. November 28th. Living situation. Jeff Bridges III, stating the obvious. Does 35-year-old adult Kids Bop. I am a solar panel, stating the obvious. Free limbs of Neutrogena. Time gets born, stating the obvious. At the dollhouse in Fort Lauderdale. November 30th. All the small things. DOC Eyewear moves. The Thinking King, whose easel is Immutable Dark. If there is no TV, no one is watching. December 1st. Selected thoughts. The meaning of seasons in snowy woods. What a journey has brought us to this moment. Maybe I'll go to the store later, depending on the weather. Hoteling. I really smell like I'm going to die. At Elvis Guest House. Judge got shot in the courthouse. Need I say more? I really smell like I'm going to die at Elvis Guest House. Judge got shot in the courthouse. Need I say more? All the small things. DOC Eyewear moves the thinking king, whose easel is immutable dark. There is no TV if no one is watching. Pesticide escapades. When happened everything, my life began. After this place. Last prep. Wash the free petal magnolia. Count blue squirrels. Sit 20 minutes. 15. Patience practice. Discover Frank O'Hara. Do nothing less than the best. Host Kendra neighbor, chase clerk, Big Bird with RV family. Get bike stolen. Courtney on the floor. Rosalie in the kitchen. Great memories. Filming tennis across the street. Nothing ever happened. My wound bloomed. Taught by trees. Comfest and softball. Refigured in my memory. Fly town bulldozed like gangbusters to make way for brave new future. Attuned to what I saw, which wasn't much, and nothing to compare it to. All white. Bank hat. Bazzi Italia. In the store through cobbled alley behind. Prototype life. As described by Andre Codrescu in A Craving for Squan. Later lived coincidentally in Greenpoint. A pedicab babe. We won at trivia, thanks to Jack and Mai's brains. In attention to meaningless ephemera. The souvenir beer was Framboise. And you probably don't remember me at all. 10 years down the line. I would write poetry all over the day. There's new buildings up, hulking over the scale. I predicted them. Wolf Knights ambushed my generation and put it to sleep in championship beer pong roofies. This is a sequel to my own life. Driving on through old suitable town. I could live up to 10 years there. Lifetimes in all others. Sustaining parallel time tracks. I like it, but there's no chicks. Carly lived down the street for about a month in the house with the turret I'd recommended. Hey, it's for rent. A lot of great carriage houses on the alley. Oh, how I wish I could live anywhere but here. 2010 again, March 2014. Pesticide escapades. When happened everything, my life began. After this place, last prep, wash the free petal magnolia, count blue squirrels, sit 20 minutes, 15, patience practice. Discover Frank O'Hara. Do nothing less than the best. Host Kendra neighbor, chase clerk, Big Bird with RV family. Get bike stolen, Courtney on the floor, Rosalie in the kitchen. Great memories. Filming tennis across the street. Nothing ever happened. My wound bloomed. Taught by trees, Comfest, and softball. Refigured in my memory. Flytown bulldozed like gangbusters to make way for brave new future. Brave new condo. Attuned to what I saw in the not much and nothing to compare it to. All white, bank hat, Bozzy Italia, and the through store cobbled alley behind. Prototype life as described by Andre Codrescu in A Craving for Swan, which my mom got at the dollar rack at Half Price Books for me for Christmas. Later lived coincidentally in Greenpoint, a pedicab babe. We won at trivia thanks to Jack and Mai's brains and attention to meaningless ephemera. The souvenir beer was Framboise, and you probably don't remember me at all. 10 years down the line, I would write poetry all over the day. There's new buildings up, hulking over the scale. I predicted them. Wolf Knights ambushed my generation and put it to sleep in championship beer pong roofies. This is a sequel to my own life, driving on through old suitable town. I could live up to 10 years there, lifetimes and all others, sustaining parallel time tracks. I like it, but there's no chicks. Carly lived down the street for about a month in a house with a turret I'd recommended. Hey, it's for rent. A lot of great carriage houses on the alley. Oh, how I wish I could live anywhere but here. 2010 again. 2007. March 2014. December 4th. Lainage. Lunage. Lunage. The portals opening and peeing. In a cave owned by Roy Acuff. The clock is a decade old. Sitting on my hands, it's a halo. An honest person is always in trouble. December 5th, campus novel. I was kind of raining. I looked back over me. I have survived. December 7th, a copay of flowers. A copay of flowers. Russian beauty longs for you. Stars seen in prison. Good book. The grass is clearly the haircut of the earth. I see that now. Everybody's shouting my Tears for Fears behemoth tooth out in the sticks, boondocking BFE, super highways of alimony, voltage king psalm, cats moving Hayden through a rubber house, grave juice applied to the tree, masonry wine. Do you think Bob Dylan has ever killed anybody? Do you think Bob Dylan has ever killed anybody? A patch of central shining on the hill. A patch of central shining on the hill. If we aren't terrorists against red state America, are we responsible for the death of the earth? Signing bonus. Humpback whale spotted in Hudson off 72nd Street. Jaywalking. Signing bonus. How legends are made. Bouncing in my Nickelodeon moon shoes. Rocky Top. Long-time listener, first-time caller. Sleepless in Seattle. Decomposition abundance. Jokes made of bad uranium. The Queen was dressed in France. Trinity Industry. A throuple. All fell ill of the plague. This apartment is a gift you can trust in my ozone office. Yin yang clown face. Where big fun enters the maze. Hallelujah, I'm a bum. Proposal being the operative word. Sculpture in the lobby. Humpback whale spotted in Hudson off 72nd Street. Jaywalking. Signing bonus. Humpback whale spotted in Hudson off 72nd Street. Jaywalking signing bonus. How legends are made. Bouncing in my Nickelodeon moon shoes. Rocky Top. Long-time listener, first-time caller. Sleepless in Seattle. Decomposition abundance. Jokes made of bad uranium. The Queen was dressed in France. Trinity Industry. A throuple. All fell ill of the plague. This apartment is a gift you can trust in my ozone office. Yin yang clown face. Where big fun enters the maze. Hallelujah, I'm a bum. Proposal being the operative word. Sculpture in the lobby. December 10th, Lunar Planner. Lunar Planner. Walking hurts my back. Poetry is being alone. Poetry is also being with other people. The Scioto is not navigable. Wrap my door around here. Open tuning words. Solid Rilke. Solemn Carl. Definitely James Wright. Drinking yourself to death. A child runs off, scream crying. December 11th, cold beer. Cold beer. December 11th, cold beer. Fucking hostile crop circles of my life. This shit's practically legal. This shit's practically legal. Fucking hostile crop circles of my life. This shit's practically legal. 15 hours of Kids Bop. Pond crisp as a can of beer. We need to capture these memories so they can be shared with eternity. We need to capture these memories so they can be shared with eternity. Somewhere, intelligent life is watching Joe Franklin. December 12th, Dine and Dash. 12th Street Rag. First and foremost, open field. We know something about Liberace Candelabra on violin in the Giants restaurant. More of a city feel. Not the silence and concentration of isolation and production. New shoes hold off. New clothes, new wipe. All I got is dope shit. New shoes hold off. New clothes, new wipe. All I got is dope shit. December 14th, Shelf Life. Shelf Life. Basics of Geology. A sixth into power. Irison on the usual gallery. If it ain't note, don't affix it. Prayers and knock on wood. Not to take the world in vain. Prayers and knock on wood, not to take the world in vain. Irison on the usual gallery. Prayers and knock on wood, not to take the world in vain. December 15th. Hot minute. Hot minute. I can't walk through trees without going blind. Beating the fuck out of the cops. It's a famine opera. Save the world, get a cat. Scenic walk, montage of thought. Love of the night in vacuum. I'm trying to like, because the thing is, it goes by you so fast. So by pausing, I'm hoping that you're like hearing the phrase. I don't know. I kind of got off balance toward the end. But like the idea being like, if I read it fast, Jeff Bridges III, stating the obvious, does 35-year-old adult kids bop. You kind of miss. I am a solar panel, stating the obvious. Free limbs of Neutrogena. Like every line is kind of its own little thing in its own little poem. I am a solar panel. There's a lot going on in this line that if you just read it real fast, you kind of miss it. Whereas if I say I am a solar panel, and then you kind of give everybody in the audience a moment to, I am a solar panel. What the fuck does that mean? A lot of the things I write, they sound like they're normal sentences, but if you stop and think about them, it's like, what? What the fuck does that mean? I am a solar panel. But it sounded true to me. I don't know. The way we receive vitamin D and get tan and shit. We are kind of solar panels. And it's a nice phrase. Those A's that go throughout it, the L, solar panel. I am a solar panel. I don't know. That's a lot of my stuff is like sound. It's like you have to kind of like let it ring in the air for a second before it really kind of registers. I am a solar panel. I don't know. Maybe am I insane? Free limbs of Neutrogena. I don't know. I thought Neutrogena, like, what an odd, amazing word. Neutrogena. It sounds so spongy. Neutrogena. But then the name Gina sounds so healthy. Neutrogena. What is that? I want that in my hair. I want Neutrogena. I want to be like some neutron Gina Davis. Some nourished nutrient of Gina Davis. I want that Gina Davis nutrient. Neutrogena. What is the Gina Davis nutrient? And I don't know. I could have did auto commentary through the whole reading, but I felt like it's kind of nice when I watch them later. It's kind of nice when they're more kind of even. The ones where I really go nuts and I think I'm like blowing hard, I don't know. Not that those aren't great and everything. Maybe I should I read it again? I feel like you have to read everything twice. I know that sounds insane, but I feel like my natural inclination is to read it over and over and over again until you actually hear it. I'm always taking a break. That's one of those things that sounds normal, but it's a deeper, I don't know, it's kind of a zen. I think there's something there. I think there's a style there. I'm always taking a break. Those Giorno, those things that he did with Moog and the recordings and the live things that he did where he had all the repetition and it kind of would bounce around. So he'd say, I'm always taking a break, and it would just repeat it. The loops and shit would just kind of throw it all around the room over and over again. So you'd kind of get that same effect. And it sounds like your mind. I felt like by stopping and letting there be a gap, the idea is you're hearing it in your mind. It's reverberating in that moment. It's kind of rattling around. And it's repeating much the same way that Giorno kind of echo thing does. It's a subtle effect, and I'm trying to write like plain spoken English as I hear it on the day-to-day, whatever, through TV or my own dumbass or my family's, the way they talk. maybe, I don't know, just the way that people talk mixed with what I've learned, and what I've heard in New York and elsewhere, California. There's a lot of Lou Welch in this, in the sound and the kind of care with the letters and shit. See, I feel like I know my reasons why, and I know like the connections and the work that went into this. That's why I feel confident enough about it that I feel like this is something that I feel like I have control over. Nobody can take it away from me. Like my video shit feels like it could be, I don't know, threatened at any time. This, it's like it's encrypted, it's encoded, it's literature. There's not really that many first names in it. And this one in particular, like I said, it was in a gap of time from November and December where I wasn't really feeling uh, any kind of personal animosity, Uh, but I don't know. I feel like, yeah, you have to read it. Read it like that. What I was listening to Theme Time, and he was talking about some blues song, how the musicians were taking their time. You'd never hear a recording like that. The musicians were really taking their time, and you could drive a Cadillac or something through the space in the beats. And he said he didn't hear that too often. And so I was thinking, I always read really fast. And I don't know. A lot of it is just about getting the sound right and like letting the music be how you hear it and getting a nice, I don't know. I'm always trying to improvise on the theme. And I can do that, but maybe it's obnoxious. Maybe I don't know. That was a little bit of an experiment to let it to withhold or to have restraint. That's something my friend mentioned on those Skype Zoom call the other day, was the restraint of a lot of the poetry that I had mentioned as reading when I was younger. James Wright or Robert Bly or people they translated. Machado, Rilke, I don't know. The restraint. Beats are not really known for that. And restraint is not, I don't. This is my tiny notebook, so it's naturally kind of smaller phrases. The orange notebook, which is what I made the last notebook out of, is pages that are more like, if you type out one of these pages at 16-point font, it's about one of these. So this page is a nice form to fit on this page for this notebook, whereas this one, it's not the same at all. So you get a lot more tiny kind of pieces. Like I've got one page. This page has got 4 different days on it. It's almost like 4 corners. It's November 20th, 22nd, 24th, and 25th. So it's 4 days on this one spread. That's kind of cool. But then there's this longer piece, this pesticide escapades, which that one was about the time that I lived in Goodale Park. I have a tradition of sort of writing these long, narrow poems recounting my time at that apartment and living and my experiences in that park. So I thought this was on Christmas Day. There was some circumstance where I had to go to Goodale Park because I was supposed to go to my brother's house, but I had to leave here because my mom's boyfriend was coming over. So I just like drove to Goodale Park and I just like sat in the car there for like a little while, hung out, walked around a little bit, walked around Short North. I think I filmed some shit. I think that's around when my phone died. But I wrote this piece in the car, I thought, when I was there. A lot of my best pieces I wrote it right in cars while I'm waiting for time to pass, I guess. But I like to have longer pieces to kind of anchor the different pamphlets. I like to have unusual, formal, or experimental. I don't just like to have, because I mean, I can write poems that are 2 lines or 3 lines or 5 lines or whatever all day, but it's hard to read those rhythmically because they're so short. And it's one of these things where it's like you kind of have to leave the resonance or repeat it for people. Leaf storm, sink to myself, acting, writing, be where I am, thinking ink. So Leaf Storm, I think it was the title of Gabriel Garcia Marquez novella or something, Leaf Storm. And I thought that's kind of an amazing, and that's what it felt like during the fall when all the leaves were, getting blown off real fast. It felt like, oh my God. But also a leaf storm, like a page, like poetry, notebook pages, that too, And sink to myself was like, I was really thinking think to myself, but sink to myself kind of felt more accurate because of this whole sensation of being in a well or, just drowning in isolation during the pandemic and drinking. And it's 5 o'clock somewhere. I mean, that was sort of my motto of last year, was just like, it's party time. Like, let's just get blotto and party our way through it. That's all I can do. Just smoke, 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 and vibe, 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 and sink, sink, sink. So I was sinking to myself, acting, writing, be where I am, thinking ink. Acting, writing, it's like, one of the themes of this time has been sort of rediscovering filmmaking, narrative, and acting and writing are sort of like, I don't know, job production versions of just being a person, sitting in a cafe observing human life. As an actor, writer, it's like you go there because you're thinking, how do I turn this experience, or how do I turn this into a screenplay? I'm an actor, I'm a writer, but it is like a poetic and like a notebook and a performative. That poetry is no different. It's just different names, it's different mentalities, and it's different canisters for the output. So I'm sinking to myself, I'm acting, writing, in my life, in my personality, and in my day to day, be where I am. So I'm sinking to myself while I'm acting and writing, be where I am. And obviously and that's that's one of these phrases that's very simple, but it's kind of a nice, I'm trying to knit the poetry and the rhyme together in a very modern, plain as glass kind of way. Like those guys in movies who are like moving big panes of glass. That's what I want my lines to be like. And they're clearly there just for some sight gag or for something to go awry. But be where I am, be and am. Be's at the beginning of the line, am is at the end of the line. Be and where, you have those repeating E's, H-E, and then R-E. So you have the repetition, like I said, of that shape, that B-E-H-E. It's almost the same shape. So there's a rhyme there that feels very modern and very American. Maybe because of the print, maybe because of where it's locating its sense of rhyme. It's not at the end. It's not this hard stop. It's not musical. It's a silent rhyme. It's not even a rhyme at all, but it is. It's typographical, and that feels like a newsprint and sort of a William Carlos Williams thing, and a colloquial, common speech thing to me. It's a way of being common, but finding a sophisticated literary in the kind of extreme normalness of it, or the extreme simplicity of the language. Be where I am. Those are very simple words. Be where I am. That's not, So a lot of this language is like that. It's very simple. And a lot of the words are used repeatedly. Road, flower I use a lot. Cold woods. I don't know. It's meant to be a nature thing. It's meant to be personal, family. It's about post-election Sunday morning in America. This is one of the centerpieces of it. That's another phrase that I just think is really good. Sunday morning in America. It's very plain. It's so plain that it feels totally obvious, and like I said, it feels almost invisible. Like there's nothing remarkable about it. What's remarkable about that phrase, Sunday morning in America? I don't know. It feels like it's where we're at. It felt like it after the election, the Saturday night cocaine binge of the failed insurrection. Couldn't get it up. We had Sunday morning Biden. He's all about church. He seems like kind of an early riser. Everything's early. I don't know. I mean, everybody's an early riser around me because for one reason, they're all older. I mean, my dad says he wakes up like 4 a.m. My mom wakes up. I wake up every day. Like today, I think I woke up at like 5:45 because she wakes up and she's quiet, but she's not quite quiet enough. Like she uses the bathroom and like clicks the door, or I don't even know what it is, but something wakes me up every day before 6 at like 5:45 or even earlier. So now my body's just like used to this. So I guarantee you tomorrow, and I hate this, but I guarantee you I will wake up at 5:45. I don't want to. I don't know why my body is so stupid. I don't know why I can't just like mentally tell myself like, you don't need to wake up. She's going to make noise. You can sleep through it. Don't even worry about it. I don't know why I'm so sensitive to the noise. And like, even on the days off, it's like tonight, I'm surprised I'm not crashing already because last night around this time, I was like passing out. And I went to bed at fucking, midnight. It wasn't even midnight, and woke up, like I said, at 5:45. And I literally laid there. I couldn't go back to sleep for a few hours. I finally got back to sleep. I don't even know when, 7 or 8 or 9. I don't even know. And then when I woke up again, it was 12:11 or something. So my fucking biological shit is all out of whack. And tomorrow will be no different, even though tomorrow's Sunday morning. And it's Sunday morning in America. It's a sober day. It's a sobering day. And we got to, pull our shit together and pray. Get down on our knees and pray. But it's also like it's sort of like meant to be reminiscent of that Reagan commercial. There's some Reagan commercial about like morning in America or whatever the fuck it is. And also kind of like the coffee commercial. There's a Folgers commercial that's kind of a similar Good Morning America type vibe, where the sun is breaking over the land and like it's time to get to work. We're going to get a cup of coffee. We're going to get down in the nitty gritty and like, Good Morning America. It's Sunday morning in America. I don't know. I guess you don't work on Sunday, but that vibe, that kind of like, sun is breaking through after a long night. And I don't know. I was trying to sort of co-opt and play into, like videos. That was me sort of like sampling the video vibe of those commercials is so like lo-fi and splotchy. It's like the sun is just like a big egg, and all the colors, it all just like it's all fuzzy, and like the resolution is super low. So I wanted to appropriate that kind of aesthetic and get that. But it also feels like a Carl Sandburg and kind of a, very sturdy wooden. I'm trying to split the difference between. Wasn't really trying to do anything with this, to be honest. I didn't even know I had this much work. I feel like I haven't been writing at all since October. So the fact that I was even able to put this book together is like kind of insane, because I thought I wasn't writing anything. So, there's a number of, I think everything in this is worth being in here. It kind of flows together in an interesting way. It's different than, let me get the other piece just so I have it to refer to. It's different than High on Life. High on Life is longer. It's more these kind of self-contained, I don't know. It was kind of influenced by Ted Bergen sonnets, and they are kind of sonnet-y pieces, but there's a lot of different size, sort of long sonnets. And this is more kind of autumnal Gothic. This was a dark time. This was my breakup and going to New York and coming back. Eddie Van Halen died. So there's a lot of, like I said, this is kind of Chelsea Hotel. And the palette's a little, gray, burnt amber, brown, beige, kind of that crimson red thing, cinnamon kind of red, gray, black. This one, it's like a lighter, the things are not as long, maybe. They're skinnier. They're one of the reasons why I could read it is because, this notebook I'm carrying kind of with me throughout the day. And if I think of a phrase that's like a thought bubble, like a tweet almost, I'll write it down. So it's almost like a separate thing in and of itself. And depending on the size of the thought, if it's a longer thing and more of like a declarative statement, I'll probably put it in the orange notebook, because that's more for longer pieces. This is more for kind of haiku, like concise stanzas and thought bubbles, like I said. And so you kind of can string them longer together into a longer piece. This Sunday Morning in America, this could almost be a few different pieces. 48-hour Film Festival, that was a title I used on one of my vlogs, or one of my live streams, actually. 40-hour Film Festival. And I still want to do a 48-hour Film Festival. I've never actually done one of those. I wanted to talk about them. I'm not sure if any of the viewers out there have ever done a 48-hour Film Festival. They seem really cool, and I like the approach where you just get like sort of your team of people, and they give you a certain couple things to launch off of, and you make a movie together, in 48 hours. I think that's great. I'd like to do that with people. I'd like to do that with more people. So, in my work, a lot of my work has been sort of an approach that's similar to that. And I don't know, just also the phrase is kind of interesting. 48-hour film festival. The poetry could feel like that, maybe, where it's just like it's a movie marathon where you're just getting more and more and more and more poems, parade of poems coming in. You know that they do these horror movie marathons at the Drexel or at the Studio 35. You know, where they'll just show, I think it's 48 hours, where they'll show 48 hours of goddamn horror movies in a row, and you buy, it's like $25, and you can kind of cycle in and out, but it's like the poetry marathon in a way. But horror movies, clearly. See, I'm already getting tired. It's 11:30 Saturday night. Maybe we should just kick off and watch SNL. I feel aleatory scorecard. That's one of my favorite titles to go over my work that nobody gives a fuck about. I feel like it could pertain to this whole thing. You know, a scorecard. I was thinking about golf and scorecards. They're kind of a funny. My dad has got this treasure chest of all his scorecards that he's collected over the past few decades. I mean, he's got scorecards like from the fucking 80s, 90s, shit from when we were kids, you know, Florida, Arizona, California, all the different places he's been, you know, signed, dated, a lot of them over the decades, you know, shit from the 2000s, 2010s, the whole deal. And scorecards are kind of a funny, they're cool. The way every course has its own scorecard. It's got a little map. You get a little pencil, maybe as the name of the course. You know, and scorecards, you're marking as you go. It's sort of your law, you know, or whatever. It's your inscribing or notching your journey. How many hits you, I mean, it's a primitive way of doing that, but it's kind of a story about how you went through the links. So the poems are sort of a scorecard in a way. They're an aleatory scorecard, meaning these are the thoughts as I'm walking through the day. You know, on any given day, I'll write 2 or 3 or 4 more things down, or none. And I'll try and sort of form, you know, I'm sort of pre-selecting, I'm pre-editing, you know. Usually a phrase has to come to me fully formed. And if it's good, I'm going to write it down. And I know, am I going to tweet it? Is it going to go in the tiny notebook or the longer notebook? But the thing that's kind of mysterious about the whole process is when the typing up happens. Because I never necessarily am thinking like this is going to be like this notebook at all. I didn't have any inkling at all that it was like going to be like a zine. It was going to be like my monthly. This one I just kind of got carried away, and I typed up I went through a number of different notebooks, like literally notebooks of 2 or 3 of them, and typed up the best stuff in all of them. And that's why it's so long. But it is like, you know, it's kind of worth it because it's a story of, you know, more of my relationship drama. But it's a poem, so you can't really tell. There's no proper names or any bullshit like that. So I can't get censored. So I was just laying in bed the other day and I started typing the shit up just because, you know, I just thought, because my mom is kind of being chill and letting me just chill in the room, I kind of have space. You know, this is what I think perhaps she doesn't get is like, I can be productive and I can work on things. It's just like, if I'm in my room all day, it doesn't mean that I'm just like in there, just like not doing shit. It's like, no, if I'm in my room, like I guarantee you I'm either editing a video or typing something up or writing an email or like, like this the other day. It's like I'm allowed to chill in my room and I don't have to like come out and watch TV all day and not do anything. So it's like before I knew it, I had this whole fucking book finished. It took me one evening to kind of go through. It was basically one notebook, this exactly like this. And I took the best stuff in it from start to finish. That was a month of writing from November 10th to December 20th or something, basically, roughly. And so it covers that span of time. And it's nice that it kind of contrasts. You have this heavy, this is almost like a fucking, it feels like a leather bound volume. I mean, for a zine, it's very meaty. And this feels like a book. Like I do kind of want to charge like $5 for this because it's got a lot of work in it. To be honest, a lot of my strongest writing, I think, is in this book. Like of my whole life, frankly. Like the texture is nice. I mean, it's a lot. And there's definitely stuff in there that probably could be cut out and probably stuff that makes less sense than others. But I mean, considering it's something that just like is this lightweight and like is a zine, you could spend a lot of time with this book, to be honest, and keep reading it and keep seeing more and getting more and making more sense of the story. And like this is a very rereadable and portable, and there's just a lot. It's, it's probably one of my favorite pieces I've ever put together, definitely. If not my favorite, I'd say, to be honest. I like the France book a lot, although I haven't read it necessarily in a while. I have a PDF of it. My new miracle computer. God, I love this computer so much. It's been nothing but just like, thank you. Thank you, computer. I don't know. I don't need to rank shit. Fuck you, you motherfucker. How long has it been doing that? Did I fuck it up? How long has it been frozen like that? I wanted to skip this video anyway because it was just still pictures, which I thought, I don't like any of these videos that are just still pictures. I don't know. This one's kind of an interesting piece because I kind of wrote it without even thinking about it, and like the style isn't necessarily, it's maybe a little more organic. It's not quite as self-conscious maybe about what I'm trying to do. I wasn't really reading anything hardly, I don't think, when I wrote this, which is different than almost anything else, like, I don't know. I'm not sure if there was a specific thing I was imitating quite as much. That's kind of what I like about it, is it feels like a little bit more of a hybrid of all the different regions and their respective techniques and sensibilities, including Ohio. This feels like something that feels like Columbus, Ohio, but not in a lame way. I feel like I'm hitting kind of an understanding of the culture and the aesthetic here, maybe in a way that it doesn't even understand itself. It doesn't, Columbus just goes for the fucking sloppiest, donkiest ways of celebrating. It's decadent. It's bred in circuses completely. This is more, I don't know, kind of old-fashioned. And I don't know. I think I was trying to write things that were a little more. I'm trying to write things that can be published, to be honest. Like there's a few different things I want to submit to. And I'm just trying to get some shit together that like actually is a, you know, a thing that works from start to finish and can be published. So I don't really know if there's anything in this that is like that, to be honest. Like, uh, there's things that I feel like are good enough to be published because they're complete in my um version of how things are supposed to work. You know, like I was telling my friend the other day, was like a lot of things that these journals, they don't take into account, as like, for instance, like poetics. You know, like, you, in order to get what I'm doing and kind of appreciate what's going on, is like a lot of it is just the approach, you know, the process, the technique, and how that adds up. And it does compile into, like, I feel like an aleatory montage that is, it's dialogue, it's comic, it's modern, it's a sitcom, it's philosophical, it's paintings, it's word, you know, it's language poetry. This is something I was also talking to him about, was just like, I like language poetry. You know, this, I don't really feel like that's a popular thing in lit mags or with people's technique these days. I don't see a lot of people writing things that look or sound like language poetry, that look or sound like what I see in the American Tree Anthology, or a lot of the West Coast language poetry, or even the East Coast. You know, Bruce Andrews or Charles Bernstein, or uh, Clark Coolidge, whatever. You know, and this is not really language, but language kind of allows you to do certain things. And like, there's things about the word as material, obviously, that I feel like I've hit a nice kind of split between a realistic naturalism and a big mainland American naturalism, but also a sophisticated kind of post language, concrete awareness of how to, you know, I wouldn't say like what I have is as clear or natural, or like fluid seeming. There's a clarity to like Louis Warsh, for instance. Um, I don't know. My stuff is weirdly stacked in a way that I'm not sure that most people get. Like, it's almost kind of invisible. But like, my iPhone is a Tamagotchi where I feed and attend to the daily needs of a public character, this pet I call the self. You know, my iPhone is a Tamagotchi. There's there's more going on sonically there. Those lines are a rhyme in and of themselves. You know, iPhone and Tamagotchi. There's a lot of like palindrome ish. You know, uh, domino or slinky kind of mirror effect in a lot of this work. You know, and that is the kind of stitching. I don't see other people doing that. I see other people that are making like really, like, to be honest, like prose like sentences. They're not choppy, they're not amended, they're figurative, they are laid out. You know, when Bernadette Mayer writes sentences, it doesn't feel that way. It feels more kind of like there's a deeper encoding, there's a deeper weave going on. and like I said, this kind of like clarity and accuracy with the way it kind of portrays modern American speech. You know, the things that people think sound modern and that get published are very corny sounding to me. They sound very old fashioned because if you look at the way that people actually talk, it's very clipped, it's very disjointed. I mean, our whole attention, I mean, not that my thing is not a script. In some sense, there is dialogue that's just a part of it that sort of rises above the surface, but it's it's working through all the senses in the same way that your consciousness does. Sometimes your vision is going to be at the forefront. Sometimes your listening is going to be at the forefront. Sometimes tasting or smelling or color or landscape or traveling, walking, talking, dialogue, like any of these things might take precedent, but you're constantly shifting through them. And the shifts are kind of, I don't know, not arbitrary, but like they're not, there's not really a logic to it. It's like you might go from, being very outward and seeing what you're seeing because you're in a moment where like you need to, be present. And then you might be, like if you're crossing the street or something, you need to see the cars. So you're like in vision world and audio world. Then you get across the street, you might shift more back to like daydream thinking world, or then you might have a vision of something very peculiar that you see very vividly in your mind's eye, and then so you're shifting through. It's the same way that like sometimes you watch TV, sometimes you listen to Spotify, like sometimes you listen to music, sometimes whatever, you cook. So you're shifting through the different. And so like my writing is shifting through these different, and it's doing it. You, the reader, kind of need to figure out when and how that's happening. And I don't know. I mean, there isn't really a coherent, like, scenography happening here. Like, it is completely at the whim of whatever situation I'm in. And like I said, I'm collecting these phrases a lot of times throughout the day. So, like, they may have absolutely nothing to do with each other. So, in a certain way, I'm trying to force that. And maybe that's one reason why it's not that successful, because people can feel that there's not really any connection between this stuff. Even for me, the only person that could possibly understand the connection is me, because I lived through it. Anybody reading this. But I mean, I think if you really zero in on stuff like couch paella, right? For instance, like that is a whole thing in and of itself. Like couch paella, that's like a really, the idea of paella is when, Mary brought out Jesus after the crucifixion. I mean, a paella is typically when the parent is carrying the dead child, I think. And what is it? In King Lear, it's a paella at the end because King Lear brings out, or is it a reverse paella? King Lear brings out his daughter, or does he die first? I forget. But there's a paella, it's a common image in Renaissance art in particular, the paella. And it's this kind of classic, it's Oedipal, this like mother holding her dead child. It's a sad, archetypal, a lot of paintings portray this. It's a symbolic moment in sort of pictogram, or whatever situation. So the couch paella was sort of a comment on the situation I'm in here. You know, it was a joke about, you know, being on a couch is sort of a paella like image because you're laying down. And your parents, I don't know, this, this millennial kind of thing of like your parents constantly having to deal with you like living at their house and shit. So that's one little phrase that if you read it real fast, you're just going to think, well, you're not even going to get anything out of it, And so this piece, November 21st, Terra Incognita, I heard, I was watching some History Channel special, and the guy was like, Terra Incognita. And I was like, wow, that's an incredible phrase. Just means like you're in uncharted territory. You're someplace you never, you don't know, you don't understand. There's no map, there's no name. You're in Terra Incognita. And I thought about calling this book Terra Incognita, but it's too Latin, it's too pretentious. I've used the word terra before, so and I thought I would have gotten more language out of the television. You'd think watching rando shit on YouTube all day, you'd get crazy fun language, but to be honest, it doesn't happen that often. I don't write stuff down off the TV or even write while I'm watching TV, ever, hardly. Like, I don't know. I don't feel like it inspires that. It's been a while since I just like, I don't know, maybe I've been lobotomized and just like cut that brain cord while I'm here. Like these, a lot of it's like, this is the only shit I wrote the whole day. And it's like a few lines, But I don't know. I think it adds up in a nice way, and that's the whole point. It does tell the whole story. It's like the little stones along the way, that show up above the water. Like, it's like, oh my God. I mean, if I had just written tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of writing all day, every day, I wouldn't type up any of it because it'd be so hard to figure out what, there'd just be so much. I don't know. I've been taking it easy, of course, because the situation around us is just so fucking. But anyway, I don't know. I think it adds up to a nice, painting the feathers. That was, I forget what that, I was watching some documentary or something, and there was something with these birds. I don't know if it was in Papua New Guinea or some place like that, Ghana, and they were painting the feathers on the birds. They were painting the birds. And for whatever reason, that really struck me at the time, probably because I was high. We let them out early in the morning. I don't know. This phrase, we let them out, it's another one that there's more going on there. It's such a simple thing to say, and anybody in your house could say that. It feels very modern American to me. We let them out. But it's also, there's a lot going on there. We let them, that's 3 E's in a row, the same vowel. And then we let, that's another rhyme, the W-E-L-E, the repetition of that, 2 to 3 to 4. We let them, two letters, 3 letters, 4 letters. And then let them is almost like a palindrome where you have that T-E-T turn into T-H-E. It kind of turns itself inside out. So let them, the phrase kind of bounces against itself in a cool way. We let them, particularly with we, once again, you have that W-E, and then so the end of it is the E-M. That's almost like a mirror of the beginning. We let them, and then you have out. So out is sort of a reiteration of let. It's 3 letters. You have the T at the end. We let them out. And it's also in, the first three words are kind of related very strongly. And then the third one is, or the fourth one is out, and it's kind of out on its own. And it does that kind of to the line. We let them out. This word kind of lets you out of the end of the line. We let them out early in the morning. So I don't know. That's referring to these birds, I guess. We let them out early in the morning. My dad has all these birds that he feeds at his house. He feeds them peanuts and sunflower seeds. And the phrase early in the morning, it's another one that early and morning kind of have that R, AR and OR, the second and third letters is kind of a rhyme. And it's just another nice phrase. I don't know. Maybe I just like the word morning. It's a recurring image maybe in this. We let them out early in the morning. But early and morning feel. It's like I said, it's a classic. They could say that on Little House on the Prairie or a Folgers commercial, or my dad could say it, but it also feels, I don't know, like it's woven, and like I said, it's pop concrete. Painting the feathers is the way that the painting and feathers, the T, the N, the T, the H, A, I, E, A, P, and F are kind of similar. Decommercializing vision. This is something I've been thinking a lot about. How the internet, everything we see is commercialized. These Marvel movies, Star Wars, YouTube even, and the Standard. So decommercializing vision, that's something I've been thinking about with my show a lot, with this, with my poetry. My poetry is a way of decommercializing vision. It's not a serial killer fucking story. It's not a Jack Reacher. It's not, I don't even know. Who's the guy? Not John Grisham. There's like a newer guy. Robert Ludlum. Whatever the fuck you're reading. I'm decommercializing vision with the way I put words together and the way I put thoughts together. And the way my show is presented is decommercializing vision rather than making it all about typeface and graphics and money, production value. It's just about the easiest, most consumer grade notebook sketch. The personal notebook sketch is sort of a decommercialized vision, I'd say. Or that's my sense of it. A zine, a DIY, that's a decommercialized. It's not some big corporate ad campaign or sans serif. Collaborating with real life surfaces. That's an aspect of decommercializing vision, collaborating with real life surfaces. Real life surfaces. Real life, you have the L, the F repeats and surfaces. The R, real life, collaborating. You got a lot of L's, R's in there. And I don't know. It's another one of these phrases that it's just deceptively. Maybe I'm just heaping a bunch of words together to make it sound like it's adding up to something, but real life surfaces as opposed to your phone the screen, these surfaces, which are so important to us right now. I mean, everything is about surfaces, but the nature of surfaces has changed. What surfaces can show us, your iPad, your iPhone, these surfaces are deep, and you go into them, but they're not real life surfaces, not like your kitchen table or your cutting board or a tree, something that has its own temperature, texture. It might be liquid. It's liquid to surface, I guess so. But it can get you wet, it can be sticky, it can be. So when you're decommercializing vision, you're collaborating with real life surfaces. You're not showing the iPad screen, the Netflix screen, the HD 4K, Disney Plus, reimagined classic. You're showing real life surfaces. You're collaborating with real life surfaces. Like I said, your cutting board, algae, a residential forest of isolation. I thought that was just a great way to describe where I am, like physically and mentally and quarantinely, pandemically, a residential forest of isolation. Once again, it's one of these phrases that it's a bunch of normal words and they feel like they go together, but it's kind of peculiar that they are going together. A residential forest. What is that? What's a residential forest? I didn't really think of that before. It's like, are you living in the forest? Are you living among the forest? A residential forest of isolation. That's kind of how my sense of my neighborhood, like, I don't know. I think I have a bunch of spies watching me. I think I'm gonna have to make my fucking shit all private. I'm kind of scared now. I'm scared that there's people out there downloading my shit and stuff. It's kind of weird. I think maybe I'll just stick on text and then a private DVD mailing subscription based thing or something. I don't know. In my residential forest of isolation. So I'm isolated, but I'm also living in this residential kind of area, all these houses, porches, neighborhood. But it's a forest. There's tons of trees. There's a fucking, riverbank with trees and a whole forest, and I've been walking amongst that a lot. But we're in isolation, so I feel like I'm in a residential forest of isolation, And I don't know. I think I like just repeating syllables verbatim, like res is in residential and forest, the exact same, RES. It's not even scrambled around or anything. I do that kind of a lot, which I don't know. I'm not sure if that's that impressive, but it's an internal rhyme. It's the hour the headlights change. So that, I don't know. That's just kind of a moment. Feel like with most of my stuff, I'm showing, not telling, meaning we were talking about, my friend had mentioned the superpower. He talked about Jack Gilbert, and how Jack Gilbert and Linda Gregg could write about things. And yet, oh my God, I just need to see what the fuck these people are saying. If it's some kind of creepy, weird shit. Thank you, kind sir. Traveling with Kristen. Oh, okay. I commented on her video. This is the girl I was talking about earlier who, wow, she responded to my comment. Nice. That's a good YouTuber. Yeah, this was a girl who was talking about living abroad. Her analysis of the United States was excellent, I thought. So I said, very, very good analysis, smart, thank you. She hearted it and said, thank you, kind sir. Oh, it was excellent, to be honest. It was really truthful. It wasn't some stupid magazine bullshit. It was like she nailed it. A lot of things I'm talking about. Decommercializing vision. She talked about consumer, how in the United States, shit is just blown out of proportion, for consumer lifestyle and shit. So this is the aleatory scorecard. So it ends with, it's the hour the headlights change, meaning the headlights come on. That's kind of a, what is the poetic, what am I getting at? What's my point in using that image? I mean, to me, I guess it is cinematic because I'm just showing you the image. It's the hour the headlights change. So to me, the phrase, okay, you've got hour and headlights change. So you have the H's and headlights change is kind of an interesting, because you have that G in there, and the G kind of changes from headlight, where it's silent, to change, where it's a J sound, which is also kind of an interesting G. And then you have that A, H-A, headlights change. So I don't know. The H's are kind of an interesting thing. And once again, it's this moment I think everybody can recognize. It's the moment that the headlights come on after dark. So what could that mean? I don't know. I'm not good at that. Better to end on an image and not explain it. That's what my professor said. And it's good because I don't know how to explain it. What the fuck does that mean? I don't know. It's just a fakey, pseudo-poetic moment, like everything I do. It's not tied to anything. It's just like, oh yeah, it's the hour the headlights change, man. It's zen. It's a gong moment. I mean, so what is this? I mean, this is like all of my shit. This is, but sort of in a microcosm. If we're gonna, you could analyze anything like this, but this one in particular, November 20th, aleatory scorecard. It's nature. It's, like I said, it's all of these linguistic. The thoughts are kind of isolated in their own stanzas, so you have that space. It's about texture and the artistic kind of, like I said, New York School is collaborating with real life surfaces, the kind of stucco, the kind of almost Jean Dubuffet, like build up of, the nastiness, and like, as opposed to sleek cyber, screens, iPads, Hudson Yards. We have a residential forest of isolation. It's a residential forest. It's like the Mushroom Kingdom. It's like where the fucking hobbits live. There's trees. There's parks. It's a residential forest of isolation. So we're safe. We're in hibernation. So, it's a village thing. It's a like I said, it's a nature thing. It's redwood trees. It's fucking Ewoks. It's vision. It's movies. It's cars. It's time. It's magic hour. So it's all those cliches kind of rolled into one. And the poem is the aleatory scorecard of the day. A lot of times I'm just finding different ways to say the same thing over and over again. Like having a poem called Selected Thoughts, and having a poem called Thoughts of the Day, and having a poem called Aleatory Scorecard. They're more or less just different names for the same goddamn thing. But that's part of the fun, and it is a game and just a habit, that you teach yourself into. Or just throughout my day, like I said, if I come up with a good phrase or somebody says something, Like my mom said TV graveyard once. So I wrote that down. Of course, that had to be the title of something, TV graveyard. It's a dope ass phrase. We saw some fucking image of some video of like a bunch of TVs. Oh, one of her cases was this guy disposed of all these monitors illegally by just like dumping them. And they're incredibly toxic because, the cathode tubes and shit. So my mom was like, it's TV graveyard. It's just like there's constantly shit like that, Or then this one, my iPhone is a Tamagotchi. To me, this was more like an insight that I had. I can't believe I have not heard anybody else say this yet. Remember Tamagotchi? The pet, the electronic pet that was like on a fucking keychain. It's like, that is fucking social media. Like your iPhone is a fucking Tamagotchi pet. Except rather than, on a Tamagotchi, it was like you had to go in at certain hours of the day and like feed it or whatever, or exercise it. So you had a certain responsibility, and it, like, I don't know, it'd do flips and shit. It's a little screen. Every Tamagotchi, I think, was different, had its own name or something, like this was in the fucking late 90s, like it was early. It was probably around the time of Furbies. So it's a cool 90s kid reference. I'm always, it's always nice to think of some 90s kid reference that nobody else has thought of yet. I'm constantly trying to make cultural references that I feel like are hip that other people aren't thinking of. So Tamagotchi, when I remembered that, I was like, oh man, this is perfect. How have I not heard how has this not come back? Like, it's such a stupid, like, retro 90s technology. Like, how is there not a Tamagotchi app or some kind of modern version of it? How is there not like a program that's like some kind of 21st 2.0 Tamagotchi? Like, it's a good brand. I feel like it's a strong idea. Is Animal Crossing? I mean, just the Tamagotchi like name and shit, I feel like is. So I thought, well, our iPhones, we are Tamagotchi. You're on your iPhone like fucking constantly, kind of like, harvesting or like tending the harvest of your different apps. You got to like check in with your Instagram. You either got to post or like shit or respond to people's messages, and you got to do the same for your other shit, Facebook. And, for some people more than others, this is a recurring subject, but like their phone is their like income and shit. So like getting on there and feeding the fucking Tamagotchi and making sure you're getting traffic or whatever is pretty important. And so I don't know, this condition of industrious, this is your whole industry. Just, it feels oddly reminiscent of Tamagotchi to me. Like the Tamagotchi was sort of a precursor. That was the epiphany of this. So this little fragment of November 24th, there's no title on this. It's a little bit different because it is just this kind of like little philosophical social commentary. And my booklets feature a lot of stuff like that, which like it's not, I don't know if it will age or how it will age. It is meant to be like sort of a timestamp, like cultural, like 90s kids will get this. But and the other thing I was thinking about, I had clicked on, or this autoplay had come on, of this documentary about William Blake. And his stanzas, I feel like, are very small, like reduced. His sense of the line and sentence is so different than any of the other romantics, I feel like, or any other poet, really, especially at that time. It's so condensed, and I don't know. It's sort of like Emily Dickinson, I suppose, but it's colloquial and it's sing-songy and it's theoretical proverbs of heaven and hell. And It's observational and it's satirical and but it's also it's common speech and it's clipped in a way. I don't know. He kind of understood it and got at it in a way that nobody else did. Although his shit rhymes heavily. But I don't know. I think in a weird way, he maybe was the precursor to sort of the William Carlos Williams or the skinny poem or one of, Emily Dickinson obviously is another one. The density and the creases and the slants on the language is just so fierce. But anyway, this journal, November 24th, it's not titled. It's sort of a free floating paragraph entry. My iPhone is a Tamagotchi, where I feed and attend to the daily needs of a public character. This pet I call myself. You feed and attend to the daily needs of a public character. I think I don't know. That once again, that's another phrase that sort of comes and goes and feels so normal, but it's like, have you heard that phrase necessarily before? Public character. It's a pretty good phrase. The L or the C, I don't know. It's just character, public. The second syllable ending with that C. That's kind of a rhyme. And that's, I don't know, that was sort of a name that I came up with for, I guess it's kind of an old-fashioned word combo. It's not necessarily the most, I try to write super millennial and I just can't. I can never really sound like public character. Sounds like some kind of 18th century fucking English or something in a way. It doesn't sound like some net kid, which is what I'm trying. I think a lot of the time I'm trying to. I don't know. It definitely makes me try to compress shit and be a little bit like, okay, this line, it rained the day Chris Farley died. That's kind of musical in a way, but it's like, it's kind of too musical. It's too kind of dad rock for millennial kids. I found out from a Gray announcement streaming on TRL. So with this line, I was thinking about I would take out Gray and streaming. So it'd be, I found out from an announcement on TRL. I feel like that's what millennial kid would do. That's what Ben Fama would do. I found out from an announcement on TRL. Like the thing about, I found out from a Gray announcement streaming on TRL. That's like dolling it up in a way that I think I do to everything really, but there it feels like I kind of understand how I could turn it into like something. I found out from an announcement on TRL, like this thing about Chris Farley on TRL. A lot of like Zoomer poetry is kind of super pop and dumbed down like that, And I can't write that way, I don't think. But it's not to say I can't embarrass myself by trying. And I don't know. This is kind of reduced. It's kind of condensed. And you kind of have to you kind of have to air it out a little bit, I think. There's a lot in here. In every line. You have to look closely at every line. I should have just not said anything. I mean, the title Room Service is a great title. Like, that's exactly where we're at right now. We are in room service land, And how great is room service? It's phenomenal. I thought about calling the whole damn chat book Room Service. But it doesn't necessarily pertain to anything. I mean, this poem, it's sort of a New York school thing. It's a war thing. but it's also just about all the shootings and violence in this town. Room service. So it's shortly after the election, November 15th. I should have just not said anything. You know, this is like such a family drama line. Like that's like a good line for the beginning of like a scene, I feel like. I should have just not said anything. I should have just not said it. You know, this is a common phrase. We've all heard this or said this. It's a defeated, I don't know. This is how people get in relationships and families and shit. Should have just not said anything. You just get resigned. You just stop trying to contribute. You just start swallowing all the pain and surrendering. So that's just like a good piece of dialogue. I'm not really sure where it's coming from, if it's coming from the speaker. I mean, T.S. Eliot did that, where it's just like he has these phrases that just kind of float in the soup of the poem, and you're like, you can kind of sense who they're coming from, almost like you're hearing them in another room or something, or through some kind of dream. I have heard the mermaid singing Each to Each, or in the room women come and go, talking of Michelangelo. Like, you don't really know what the fuck it means, but it's part of the collage. You can infer a lot about the scene from it, even though it doesn't tell you. That's the point, I guess. And the music of it, you know, it rhymes, which is kind of cheap, to be honest. I do that in some, like, there are definitely rhymes that are like that, like that last one with the Tamagotchi and iPhone. Shit. My iPhone is a Tamagotchi where I feed and attend to the daily needs of a public character, this pet I call the self. So feed and needs, you know, that's a rhyme. But it's not super, it's not like in the room women come and go talking of Michelangelo. It's not quite that musical, you know. Where I feed and attend. I mean, that's almost a rhyme. Attend and feed, and needs and attend. Need is sort of an in turning out of the N and the E. Attend, need. So those rhymes are all in there. And there's a lot of music throughout this that's very obvious. Silence dreaming Lady Carousel's organ. I don't know. This is a line I have a lot of trouble with. I almost want to cut it out. I like silence dreaming, but those are just kind of vague words, and it's not that tightly woven together that it feels necessary. Whereas Lady Carousel's organ, I like the entendre, like Lady Godiva's operation. That's kind of what that, and carousel and organ kind of have a nice, you know, resonance with each other. Lady Carousel's organ, I don't know, it feels like an important gender thing to have in there. And the image, it's not, you know, it's nice. It's silence dreaming lady. It's just like, it's not strong enough to put it in there necessarily to me. But I don't know. That's because these are sort of like just kind of dashed off. You know, I did this in one night, and like it's strong for the most part, but I do feel like I can kind of put a few extra things in there that are like a little, because it is this temporal, personal publication, you know. And I do, it's kind of hard to hit the format like the spacing and the pagination takes a little bit of finagling because the fonts, are kind of they're funky. You have to work with weird sizes. So, you can't, I don't know, like I need to have different pieces of different sizes, and I have to be conscientious about when I add and take away stuff because it can throw off the whole formatting. So I don't know. Silent Streaming Lady Carousel's organ. It's kind of a nice thing to have at the beginning of, this to me is, I was going to maybe use it as the first poem, but these other ones about summer school felt like a good place to start because they kind of refer backwards to High on Life in the previous Beach Trees chapbook, which was sort of Washington Beach Bum summer school with Mark Harmon, how I spent my summer vacation, like partying on Kinhanchikonsapung. So this is kind of like the beginning, throwing back to that. And then you really get into it with the room service poem. That's like when you're like, okay, now we're going into the actual present kind of interior of where we are. The domestic family space. I should have just not said anything. Silent Streaming Lady Carousel's organ. Chili flowers are blonde. That's like a winter image to me. That I hesitate to use the word blonde, or like I don't want to characterize. I don't want people to misconstrue that as like some kind of like commentary on some kind of female thing, because it was more about the image of how flowers in winter are like this kind of blonde ice color. They turn this, I don't know if it's because they die or what, but it's like they are kind of this like milkweed almost, like, or like beige tobacco kind of colored. So chili flowers are blonde. I thought was kind of a nice image, wintry snow ice flowers. Chili flowers are blonde. Those LF are nice, chili blonde flowers. It's sundown when I drink my fist of coffee. First thing popped into my head, first thing came out my mouth. We are all children of Louis Warsh. Lyric videos reading poetry into my galoshes. So this section, it's sundown when I drink my fist of coffee. I don't know. I just think that line I really like. I mean, first coffee, I think I misread. It's sundown when I drink my first coffee, but my fist of coffee feels equally appropriate because, when you're drinking coffee, it's often in a mug, and that's kind of a fist. And people, I think, understand the misreading or the dual reading. You can read first into that. It's not that hard. But having it at sundown is a peculiar. It's sundown when I have my fist of coffee. There's suddenly this aggression in it. But it's not, I don't know, it's not necessarily. The way you're taking the R out of it is kind of the same way you're taking that meaning. It's becoming this other thing. This fist of coffee, and it's, I don't know, it's sort of a domestic, you're in a robe or something, so it's not that threatening. But it's sundown when I think that's a nice line with all those ins. Sundown when, there's kind of a rhyme in those. Once again, you have 2-4-4 or 3-4-4, so it steps up, and then you have the I's beginning and ending the line. You have the recurrence of that I and fist at the end of the next line. It's sundown when I drink my fist of coffee. And you have that F, fist and coffee. So I really like that. First thing popped into my head, first thing came out my mouth. That's like a first thought, best thought thing. But I don't know. It felt like it's also at the beginning of the book. So first thing popped out of, it is kind of an ars poetica in a way, because that's not too far, from my process, clearly, as you probably know from watching this. But I don't know. It also felt like that was kind of an interesting way to say it. I don't know. We were all children of Louis Warsh. Rest in peace, Louis Warsh. I think he passed away maybe around this time. And I think that's true. Making this book, if you're a self-publisher, if you're a Mimeo publisher, if you are a student of New York School writing at all, or Poetry Project, or obviously other institutions as well, his influence is everywhere, and I think that's fair to say. Like, especially at the Poetry Project, that was kind of pertaining to the way that we all kind of look like Louis Warsh's kids. To be honest, all the guys there kind of look like, and he was around, so he was kind of like patriarch of people who have been students and involved at the Poetry Project over the past few years. And I don't know. I mean, I'm not trying to like claim some space at it, obviously I'm not, but I admire him a lot. He's a hero, absolutely. The way he lived, published, edited, wrote fiction, wrote poetry. He was a professor. Like, he had the fucking, if you really study Louis Warsh's career, it's fucking awesome, top to bottom. He did it. He is in the first rank as far as I'm concerned. Absolutely, no doubt about it. Louis Warsh is in the first rank. Lyric videos, reading poetry into my galoshes, permanently reducing magnets, guns firing, tanks clattering, slow wave. We are all out of windows. See, the end doesn't really have anything to do with the rest of it. It's about a war, but it's about these armored police vehicles and all the shootings around here. I mean, permanently reducing magnets, that's just an image, really. Reducing magnets, I felt like was kind of an interesting idea. Lyric videos, reading poetry, that's been a running thing of this whole time, is poetry video. But it's, the phrases, once again, are not, they sound common or expected, but lyric videos, you don't hear that too often. And that's kind of what we're trying to do here. And that's what a lot of poets are doing, is lyric videos. Reading poetry into my galoshes, I don't know, that was just kind of a way to fill it out and make it real. Bring it down into your shoes, your wet, rainy shoes, your boots, your fisherman shoes. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. I've been seeing that a lot recently. 12:34. So we're gonna wrap it up pretty soon. We've gone long. I don't know. I don't know if I can really keep any of these. So November 18th, contemplative, and then we are all out of windows. I don't know. I thought that was an interesting way of saying maybe the windows got shot out, or I don't know. There's a lot of things that could mean. Windows, I mean, we are all out of windows. We've been looking through the same fucking windows for a year. Like, we need some new goddamn windows, man. And our streaming things, our various surfaces and services, we're kind of out of those windows too. I mean, aren't you just tired of it? You're just tired of looking at it. We're all gonna need to like detoxify and go through withdrawal from TV addiction. November 18th, contemplative pause. I thought that was a great title. Contemplative pause. That's what this poem is. Smell of cold woods and fall. So that's, we're in the woods, smell of cold woods in the fall. It's one of those things. It's like, I don't know. You know how things smell when they're cold. Trees, the dirt, it smells different. And also you have those L's, cold woods. That's kind of a nice, the D, the O, 4 letters. Fall, it's 2 L's, same with smell. So that's a nice little phrase to me. Once again, it's a very plain spoken, that could be in a fucking Kevin Costner movie or a Stephen King's Misery or whatever. Similar image, similar. And that's where we are. We're kind of in this ski lodge fucking cabin fever. How have I not had a poem called Cabin Fever yet? I gotta write that down. Let me write it down right now, god damn it. God damn it. See, the problem is I have too many titles. My friend had a great point about that the other day, which is that they had just written a poem that was a bunch of titles. They had this long piece, and I was like, oh man, that's a great idea. Just a poem that's all titles. What a magnificent idea. But anyway, so I was in the fucking woods, and I smelled the cold woods and had a contemplative pause, as you do. It's a story, but it hurts. Once again, this is like story and hurts kind of turn inside out. The R, the T, the O and U, and then ST at the beginning of story. You have TS at the end of hurts. It's a story, but it hurts. You have those T's at the end of each word at the second line, but it hurts. So you have this staccato kind of t. It's a story, but it hurts. I mean, that's like a Netflix thing, or that's like a movie thing. Once again, where it's like they're all stories, they're all storytellers and blah blah blah. But it kind of hurts a lot of these movies if they fuck the characters up, or if they're mean to characters you like, or it can hurt you. Or I don't know, my fucking movie, it's a story but it hurts. Stories can hurt. It's not just a story. So I don't know. There's a peculiar relation, I think, between those two words, and maybe I'm only drawing attention to it in sort of a dumb way, or a dumbfounded, kind of ditzy way. But I don't know. That's for you to figure out. You're supposed to meditate on it. It's a story, but it hurts. So that means the story does hurt. The story hurts, but they're not supposed to typically. It's qualified. It's a story, but it hurts. Stories don't typically do that. They don't hurt you typically. This story hurts. What do stories typically do? Well, they're comedies, they're innocuous, I don't know. It's unusual. This contemplative pause, naked among the trestles. So that's kind of a pun on Tressel as the football coach, who people are constantly referring to that dumbass bullshit. And so he wore this sweater vest, and you just have a lot of Tressel type, football acolytes. So you're naked among the trestles. But a trestle is also like a fucking, I don't know, railroad fucking tie or something. It's like a rustic, I don't know. It sounds like a tree rustling trestle. Like a, an ivy patch, or a shrubbery, a trestle, you know. But a trestle could be, I don't know, isn't that some kind of fucking like bodice or like that's a truss, I guess. But I don't know. This it's just crammed in at the bottom of this one page. So this one little thing is really just like this very brief interlude in the woods, you know, over here on the beach in the cold woods in fall. So, you know, you read this after you read Beach Trees and High on Life, and you're getting another portrait of the same landscape, you know. This time the seasons have changed. So you read through, and then so that poem moves from Naked Among the Trestles into Leaf Storm. So once again, you're in the forest. You're in this introspective moment. You're in, you know, and that was kind of me moving down the river over here, writing as I go. You know, whatever occurred to me. Leaf Storm. And then Route Detour. Route Detour, that's almost a palindrome, but not quite. It's almost the same forwards and backwards, but it's not. It's Route D. So backwards it'd be routed detour. Routed detour. 2 hour. But I don't know. I mean, I could do fucking commentary on the whole thing, you know. Maybe it is a kind of stultified rhythm because it's written in these very chopped, reduced, condensed phrases, you know, over the space of a bunch of different time. It isn't like this, like I write it in one sitting and edit it and revise it. It's like, no, one of these lines, you know, that's something I learned from Bernadette Mayer. She had this exercise where she would write like 12 lines at noon and then 2 lines at the end of the day. And that would be the sonnet, you know, the idea that like that was part of it, what time, you know, but you wrote it throughout the day. So like this, you know, I might have written the first line, you know, first thing in the morning, and then the last line, you know, at dinner or something. Like it's kind of spaced throughout, and it's not really coherently other than it's just like what's taking place in my reality tunnel. You just have to accept it like that, and then kind of read. I mean, they have different, like this book has different, the language, the way the words are combined and stuff has a different shading and a different palette, you know, the aesthetic, the emotional. This is a lot more New York. It's a lot more whereas this one is more kind of I don't know, like I was saying, it's kind of hit a nice blend to use a recent favorite word between the different dialects and regions, but also just where I am. I don't know. I think a lot about, because, you know, as the weather has gotten worse, so has the, you know, the radius of where I typically want to walk has shrank as well. So I do the same walks over and over again, and they get you know, my loops get shorter and shorter. But recently, up until recently, I was doing kind of the shortest loop was like I could walk down to the river through these woods that were like kind of, you know, enough to like make you feel like you're in the woods and you're on the riverbank, so it's cool. But across the river are these hotels, which you may have seen in some of my videos. There's like a fucking, I don't even know, a Holiday Inn or a, they're like they're for the football team basically. They're right, they're right across. They're on Old Tingy River Road, so they're near OSU. They're near the Horseshoe. So during football games, like they get super slammed, and they might have business conferences or whatever. But it's just kind of an interesting kind of chill wave, like late capitalism. I don't know, totally normcore banal, but also I don't know. It's like there's a little bit of style to these hotels. They are kind of Miami Vice. They're like it's a river, and there's sort of, I don't know. One of them's kind of pinkish orange, and there's a number of like kind of like high rise. Like there's a condominium building that's like not far from here that's like 9 or 10 stories. So it's kind of like you can see it from the river and from the park. So you see these like kind of tall, like apartment condo buildings with like balconies and shit. And then the hotels, which are like these kind of classy, like business hotels, like business class and I don't know. I feel like somehow that like had a lot to do with the way, whatever, the blend, like I said, of those vibes, that kind of vaporwave late capitalism of like the hotel and like the luxury and everything that pertains and kind of implies, but like on the banks of the fucking muddy Scioto, and there's just the kind of like extended residency in fucking country blues that this has been, on the fucking river. And oh my god, just I don't know, all of it, the trauma of all of it, the TV. The TV has a lot to do with the hotel, but I try to put images up on the TV that are natural and of the natural world. There's animals and shit like that in a lot of the videos, bears or so. I don't know. I think that this book stylistically and through a lot of the references, like it's natural camp. Like I mentioned campus, but I don't go overboard with it. It still feels grounded in who I am and who I want to be and the way I want to portray things and my neighborhood, my landscape, my psychological picture of it. Like cold beer, I thought was a good phrase. Cold beer. I don't know. For some reason that like just the clarity of that feels like really nice to me. Cold beer. I think it's a good title, but it's clearly influenced by my surroundings, Fucking Hostel, that's a Pantera song that John Ryan used to do at karaoke. Fucking Hostel. Crop Circles of My Life, that's like a sort of a play on a song title. There's some Willie Nelson song or something. What is it? Addicts of My Life or something. I don't know. Anyway, I'm excited to get back to New York and write in that environment and go to the galleries because I'm going to live right near there and kind of absorb that texture and write from that vantage and make some new pamphlets with that, aesthetic and feedback chamber surround. But I am happy with these pamphlets and with I don't know. I mean, I have been able to read a lot of stuff and study a lot of stuff that has helped my writing that I would not have probably discovered otherwise. Catherine Wagner or Hoya Nguyen, uh, Book of Blues, the Kerouac book. Like I said, a lot of the Ron Silliman stuff, In the American Tree, George Oppen, Taylor Mead. This is all the stuff I've read in the past year that I feel like really kind of changed the way I was writing, maybe. Ted Berrigan, of course, always. What else? Jack Michelin, of course, always. Norma Cole, all those Spotlight series books. I feel like there were more. That Julien Poirier book was really good. That one I go to a lot. I need to get some new stuff and get back to reading. I don't know. I'm not sure if I'm going to broadcast tomorrow. My mom's supposed to get home tomorrow night, so it's getting late here. I got to eat and go to bed and clean up and shit. Like tomorrow I got to, I don't know when she's going to be back, so thank you for watching. Thank you for listening to Mutual Fair. See, I even think that's a title is good. Mutual Fair. It's good, good ideal, good goal. It's a Frankly Fabulous show. Make sure you smash like, hit that subscribe button. Good night, everybody. Thank you for watching. Godspeed. Write your own radical poetry. Publish your own zines and pamphlets. I encourage you. I implore you, my children, my little fabulists. That's my message. That's my missive to you. Good night.